Hey, I'm Sarah Benson, and I'm 14. Science is my thing. We're your typical suburban family. Dad's Michael, a respected doctor everyone looks up to, and Mom's Linda, who runs the best bakery in town. Her cupcakes are basically famous. Then there's my older brother Jake, who's 18 and should be enjoying his first year of college. At least that's what we all thought. Growing up, Jake was my hero. He taught me how to climb trees, ride my bike without training wheels, and even how to stand up to the mean girls at school. Our treehouse was our secret place. We'd spend hours up there talking about everything and nothing. It was our escape. But lately, something's changed with Jake. At first, I thought he was just dealing with college stress. But things didn't add up. It started when I overheard him and our parents arguing about money. I was grabbing a snack when I heard Dad say, "Jake, we're not made of money. Your spending is out of control." Jake fired back, "You don't understand. College is expensive." I froze behind the door listening. Mom sounded worried. "But honey, we're already covering your tuition. Where's all this extra money going?" That's when I started paying closer attention. Jake began showing up in designer clothes worth more than my entire wardrobe. And don't even get me started on the new car he was driving, an Audi. Last I checked, flipping burgers at the campus cafeteria doesn't pay for an Audi. Then he started coming home at weird hours, sneaking in at 3 a.m. on random weeknights. His new friends? Yeah, they looked more like bikers than study buddies. I was freaking out. This wasn't the Jake I knew. My big brother was turning into someone I didn't recognize. I needed to talk to someone, but who? Enter Melissa, my best friend since kindergarten. We were supposed to be studying for our biology test, but I couldn't keep it in any longer. "Mel, I think Jake's hiding something big," I whispered. Her eyes went wide. "What do you mean?" "Like bad big." I spilled everything, the money fights, the weird hours, the sketchy friends. Melissa's face grew more serious with each word. "Sarah, this is serious. You need to tell your parents," he said, squeezing my hand. I hesitated. What if I'm wrong? What if it's nothing and I just mess everything up? And what if you're right? Melissa countered. What if Jake's in real trouble? She had a point, but the thought of ratting out my brother made me feel sick. Jake and I always had each other's backs, but if he was mixed up in something dangerous, didn't I owe it to him to speak up? I had no idea that my decision would set off a chain of events that would change everything. At dinner one night, Dad casually asked Jake how studying for finals was going. Jake squirmed, barely making eye contact. Yeah, it's going," he mumbled. Mom jumped in. "You must be so stressed, honey. Do you need me to send you some care packages?" Jake just shoveled mashed potatoes into his mouth, avoiding the conversation. The tension was unbearable. I couldn't take it anymore. Before I knew it, I blurted out, "Jake dropped out months ago." The silence was suffocating. Dad's face turned red. Mom gasped. "Jacob Andrew Benson, is this true?" Jake glared at me with pure venom. "Thanks a lot, Sarah," he spat before storming out of the room. The front door slammed shut behind him. I felt sick. "I'm sorry, I couldn't." Mom's voice was quiet, hurt. "How long have you known about this?" "Not long, I swear." I overheard him arguing about money and... Dad cut me off. "We'll deal with you later. Right now, we need to find your brother." I couldn't stand the disappointment in their eyes. After they left to look for Jake, I slipped out to the treehouse, our safe space. But it didn't feel safe anymore. I was lost in thought when I heard the creak of the ladder. Jake's face appeared, twisted with anger. "You little snitch," he growled, pulling himself up onto the platform. "Jake, I'm sorry. I was worried about you. What's going on?" He stormed toward me, fists clenched. "You have no idea what you've done. Do you know how hard it's been pretending everything's fine? Then talk to me. We used to tell each other everything." Jake let out a bitter laugh. "Grow up, Sarah. The world isn't all science fairs and gold stars. Sometimes you've got to do what you have to survive." "Survive what, Jake? You're scaring me." He ran his hands through his hair, pacing. "I owe some people money, okay. Serious people. And now, thanks to you, I'm screwed. We can tell Mom and Dad. They'll help." "They can't help," he shouted, making me flinch. "God, you're such a child." I felt anger bubbling up. At least I'm not a liar and a dropout. Jake's eyes flashed dangerously. You know what? You're right, I am a dropout. And you know what dropouts do? Before I could react, he lunged forward and shoved me hard. I felt my feet leave the platform, my stomach twisting as I fell backwards. In that split second, I saw Jake's face. No shock, no remorse, just cold, empty anger. Then pain exploded through my body as I hit the ground, a sickening crack reverberating through me. Agony shot through my left arm, and I screamed. Sarah. My mom's terrified voice seemed distant. I tried to focus, but black spots clouded my vision. The last thing I saw before darkness took over was Jake, staring down from the treehouse, his expression unreadable. When I came to, I was in a moving vehicle, the wail of sirens piercing my foggy brain. Sarah, honey, can you hear me? My mom's tear-streaked face swam into view. Mom, I croaked. What? Jake. Shed, don't try to talk. We're almost at the hospital. As consciousness slipped away again, one thought echoed in my mind. Nothing would ever be the same again. The hospital room was too bright, too sterile. I blinked awake, confused and groggy. My left arm was heavy, encased in a bulky cast. Mom and Dad hovered over me, their faces etched with worry. Oh, sweetheart, Mom choked out, gently brushing my hair back. How are you feeling? I tried to sit up, wincing at the sharp pain that coursed through me like a shockwave. Like I got hit by a truck. What happened? Dad's jaw tightened. You fell from the treehouse, Sarah. Do you remember anything? The memories hit me all at once. Jake's anger, his hands shoving me, the terrifying fall. I shuddered, tears springing to my eyes. Where's Jake? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Mom and Dad exchanged a glance. Hez, not here right now, Dad said carefully. We need to talk about what's been going on with your brother. Over the next few days, the truth trickled out. Jake hadn't been in college for months. He was working at some shady bar downtown, gambling away his tuition money, and hanging out with a rough crowd. I can't believe he lied to us for so long, Mom said, her voice breaking. Where did we go wrong? I wanted to comfort her, but I was drowning in my own emotions. Betrayal, anger, and a deep sadness swirled inside me. The brother I had once idolized felt like a stranger. Jake's actions had consequences. He faced charges for my injury despite his weak claims that it was an accident. The court sentenced him to community service and mandatory counseling. One afternoon, Jake showed up at the hospital. He stood awkwardly in the doorway, his eyes darting around the room. Hey, Sarah, he mumbled. I'm sorry about what happened. I turned away, unable to look at him. Are you sorry you pushed me or sorry you got caught? Come on, it was an accident. I didn't mean for you to fall, Jake protested. Just like you didn't mean to drop out or lie to everyone for months? I shot back, my voice rising. Get out, Jake. I don't want to see you. He left without another word, and I broke down sobbing. A nurse came in to check on me, concern etched on her face. It's okay to be angry, she said softly, but don't let it consume you. My recovery was slow and painful. Physical therapy was grueling, and nightmares plagued my sleep. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, the sensation of falling still fresh in my mind. Through it all, Melissa was my rock. She visited every day, bringing homework and gossip from school. You won't believe what happened in Chem Lab today, she'd say, launching into stories that made me laugh despite everything. One day, she arrived with a determined look on her face. Okay, enough moping. We're getting you out of this funk. I'm not moping, I protested weakly. Melissa raised an eyebrow. Sarah, you haven't left this room in days. Come on, let's at least go for a walk in the garden. Reluctantly, I agreed. The fresh air worked wonders on my mood, and as we strolled through the garden, I found myself opening up to Melissa about my conflicted feelings toward Jake. I hate what he did, but he's still my brother, I admitted. Is it wrong that part of me still wants to forgive him? Melissa squeezed my hand. There's no right or wrong way to feel, Sarah. Just give yourself time. Back at school, I threw myself into my studies, desperate for a distraction. Mr. Chen, my science teacher, seemed to sense my inner struggle. One day after class, he approached me. Sarah, I've noticed your work has been exceptional lately, he said. Have you considered joining the robotics club? I think you have real potential. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of excitement. Really? You think I could do it? Mr. Chen smiled warmly. Absolutely. Sometimes the best way to heal is to pour yourself into something you're passionate about. As I left his classroom, a tiny seed of hope took root. Maybe, just maybe, I could find a way to move forward from this mess. The robotics lab became my second home. I poured every ounce of frustration and pain into building machines, finding solace in circuits and code. Mr. Chen saw something in me I couldn't yet see in myself. Sarah, your designs are innovative. Have you considered the summer internship at Tech Future? I shrugged. I don't know, Mr. Chen. I'm not sure I'm ready. He gave me a stern look. You are more than ready. Don't let what happened hold you back. His faith in me was the push I needed. I applied and got in. Meanwhile, Jake's life was falling apart. I overheard Mom and Dad talking late one night. He's gambling again, Michael. The rehab didn't stick, Mom said, her voice filled with worry. Dad sighed heavily. I know, but we can't keep bailing him out. Jake's friends had abandoned him when the money ran out. One night, he showed up at our door, desperate. Sarah, please, he begged. I just need a little cash to get back on my feet. I stared at him, the brother I once idolized, now a shell of his former self. No, Jake, I can't help you destroy yourself. His face twisted in a sneer. Still the perfect little princess, huh? I slammed the door in his face. Years passed. I focused on my studies, earning a full scholarship to MIT. At my high school graduation, I delivered the valedictorian speech. Adversity doesn't define us. It's how we rise above it that matters. I spotted Jake in the back row, looking haggard and resentful. Fast forward to today, and I'm standing on a stage accepting an award for my work in prosthetic limb technology. Mom, Dad, and Melissa are cheering in the audience. Jake isn't here. He's serving time for fraud after a failed attempt to steal my first big paycheck. As I conclude my speech, I reflect on how far I've come. The treehouse incident feels like a lifetime ago. I've built a life of purpose and success, while Jake's choices led him down a path of isolation and failure. I leave the stage with my head held high, ready to embrace my future. I'm stronger now, free from toxic influences, and determined to keep rising above the ashes of my past. The story ends here, but I've got a question for you. If you were in my shoes, could you ever forgive Jake for what he did? Would you give him another chance or cut ties completely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.